Chapter 16. The United Nations. The current or the modern-day world which we see now has come out of the clouds of devastating circumstances such as destructive wars or world wars, the Cold War or other proxy wars lasting for almost 7 decades. The name and the text of the Declaration by United Nations was drafted by President Franklin Roosevelt of the USA, Prime Minister Winston Churchill of the UK in 1941. Soon after, the members of the United Nations adopted the Charter which described the objectives and functions of the organization. Need for the United Nations. The greed of the developed nations and their hunger for gaining more and more markets led to a competition between the European countries. This started a cutthroat race to procure more and more colonies. This started war between nations. Later the wars took the ugly shape of world wars. It resulted in colonization and control of many Asian and African countries by Europeans. The people of these countries suffered exploitation at the hands of imperialist powers. They started movements to become independent. The First World War, 1914 to 1919, had caused heavy destruction all over the world. Millions of people had lost their lives, millions had become homeless or had lost their dear ones. Economies of many countries were destroyed completely and it brought misery to the mankind. Several other factors were responsible for the birth of the United Nations. The defeated countries suffered huge losses. Japan faced total destruction due to atomic bombings at Nagasaki and Hiroshima by the USA. Germany was divided and Britain, France and Portugal lost many colonies in Asia and Africa. After the First World War, some European countries and the USA had set up the League of Nations in 1919. This organization aimed to bring peace to the world. But it failed to achieve its objectives. So, in 1940 the League of Nations was disbanded. It was decided to set up a new organization called the United Nations Organization, UNO, in its place. The original declaration creating the UNO was signed by 26 countries who were allied in the war. The UN Charter. On 26 June 1945, the UN Charter was signed in San Francisco by 50 member countries. This day is observed as United Nations Day. Later, Poland also joined the organization as the 51st member. United Nations came into existence on 24 October 1945. The UN Charter contained the following main objectives: to maintain peace and security in the world, to develop friendly relations among countries, to cooperate in improving socio-economic conditions of people, to promote respect for human rights, equality of all people and support freedom of all people, to save succeeding generations from war. Organs of the UN. The United Nations has 6 main organs which function under it. 1. The General Assembly. 2. The Security Council. 3. The Economic and Social Council. 4. The Trusteeship Council. 5. The International Court of Justice. 6. The Secretariat. Principles. To achieve the above objectives, the United Nations has set up the following principles which all members should follow. 1. All member countries should respect the sovereign rights of other countries. 2. All members should settle their disputes by peaceful means. 3. To avoid use of force or threat. 4. to assist the United Nations in fulfilling its objectives. The Millennium Development Goals are 8 goals that all 192 United Nations member states have agreed to try to achieve by the year 2015. The United Nations Millennium Declaration, signed in September 2000, commits the states to 1. Eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, 2. Achieve universal primary education, 3. Promote gender equality and empower women, 4. Reduce child mortality, 5. Improve maternal health, 6. Combat HIV/AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, 7. Ensure environmental sustainability, and 8. Develop a global partnership for development. The Bojan project estimated that $40 to $60 billion each year is needed to achieve all 8 goals. In 2016, the UN has called the MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, the most successful anti-poverty movement in history.